గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ ఫ్రెండ్స్. ఇప్పుడు ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ అవుతుంది. వీళ్ళు ఏదో ప్రేమతోటి కీ నోట్ అడ్రస్ అని ఓ పదం పెట్టిండ్రు. యాక్చువల్గా ఏంటంటే నేను కీ మర్చిపోయే వచ్చిన, ఇక నోటు మాత్రం ఉంది నా దగ్గర. ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ చాలా సీరియస్ కనుక ఇది purpose of this particular meeting, as I understand, is to plan our activities to take this subject into the schools, colleges, universities, and also in different sections. For example, recently we had a very big meeting of the Bar Association of Mahbub Nagar, and where we invited a High Court judge also. So, and that was the occasion where we could synergize the Vice Chancellor, the Zilla Parishad Chairman, Bar Association, district judges. It was a gathering of about 400 to 500 people, where all the academia, the media was there. So basically, I am really fortunate to have heard Narasimha Reddy, Professor Narasimha Reddy, in his wonderful analysis. He has explained the intricacies of the deliberations that normally take place in a very much publicized conference of parties. And the story continues. In spite of the fact that this is the most important subject, and we are all, sitting in India, sending our delegates to these conferences. We think they are doing something very serious, but not all the countries are like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, where, as rightly pointed out, it is ignorance plus apathy, and sometimes deliberate intention to divert the attention of the people. I do not wish to go into the history of this particular subject, but I wish to bring a couple of issues so that we can take this message in the next 1 month or so to the very many colleges and districts wherever we are. We are planning to go to Anantapur, Kurnool, and other institutions. So I would just, focus on a few important developments, just to recap, something like a recap, right from 1972 Stockholm Conference. Those details we are not discussing. Then the most important development for all the youngsters who are here is the World Commission on Environment and Development, WCED. It's popularly known as the Brundtland Commission. And it is there for the first time that the word sustainable development was defined. I request all of you, because this is a smart generation, you have all kinds of computers and smartphones. So you can just verify, particularly the YouTube, I request all of you, maybe you are connected, but once again. Then after the World Commission report, we come to a very important conference, that was 1992 Rio Conference. This is the second biggest conference. The first one was Stockholm, 72. And exactly 20 years later, we have the 1992 Rio Conference. It was at Rio. We should be grateful. At least the Rio Conference took a serious note of the World Commission on Environment and Development findings. And after approving that WCED report, they decided to move forward and that is why they made couple of resolutions. And the first and the foremost thing is they decided to set up an umbrella organization. It's known as United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. And under the aegis of this particular UNFCCC, conferences of parties are being organized worldwide on one very important topic, and that is climate change. Now, when you go to the colleges, you should explain COP means Conference of Parties, but here it means all those countries which were party to the decision to establish UNFCCC. That means all the nations in the world, they are parties because they unanimously approved, and that is how the deliberation started. Initially, as rightly pointed out, because I was observing Narsana's wonderful presentation, I'm happy I heard, and I have taken some photographs also. It's important to note that it's not all that easy to establish to work out a consensus at the global level. గీడ రూమ్లో ఉన్న మనం 20 మంది ఉన్నామో లేదో 30 మంది, మన మధ్యలోనే యూనిటీ ఆఫ్ పర్పస్ రాదు. మనం 30 మంది ఉంటే 60 డైమెన్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి మినిమం. Very difficult. And imagine the world, nearly 200 countries, 195 or whatever, so many ideologies, religions, all kinds of different shades of nationalism, and again within a country. So there is so much of diversity, political, social, economic. But in spite of that, hats off to UN as an organization. They have been trying to bring the world together to sensitize, to motivate, and ultimately convince them to evolve a global consensus. దాని కొరకు మనం నమస్తే పెట్టాలి. వీ షుడ్ అప్రిషియేట్ యుఎన్. అంటే ఇక తప్పులు పట్టదలుచుకుంటే చాలా ఉంటాయి, కానీ అది కాదు. సపోజ్ యుఎన్ కూడా లేకుంటే ఈ మాత్రం కూడా పని జరగకపో. సో వీ హ్యావ్ టు బీ పాజిటివ్ అండ్ అప్రిషియేట్ దట్ వండర్ఫుల్ రోల్ ప్లేడ్ బై యుఎన్. అక్కడ ఉండే పాలిటిక్స్ అక్కడ ఉంటే మనకు అది అనవసరం. క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే వాట్ ఈజ్ ఇట్ వీఆర్ డూయింగ్? గౌరవనీయులైన మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం? It's easy to find fault with so many things in the world. But we the people living in the so-called world's largest democracy, ఈ వర్డ్ అంటుంటే మాకే నవ్వు వస్తుంది ఒక్కోసారి. ఏంటంటే అవి ఏ డెమోక్రసీ, ఇవన్నీ ఉంటాయి. మాకు పొలిటికల్ సైన్స్ కనుక మాకు ఎవ్రీ వర్డ్ ప్రతి దగ్గర మాకే డౌట్ వస్తుంది అన్నట్టు. ఎనీవే, well, this is India. But one thing I can tell you, in spite of the fact that Government of India has a national action plan on climate change, still this country is technically doomed. మీరు ఏం అనుకోవద్దు. కొన్ని విషయాలు చూస్తే ఇండియా వరల్డ్ మొత్తం టిప్పింగ్ పాయింట్స్ దాటుతుంది. క్రిటికల్ on several fronts we are crossing the limits. We already crossed, and that limits are being exceeded. We call them as tipping points. India, if we take right now as we are discussing, fortunately we have my friend B.V. Subbarao. He recently visited the Himalayas. He was invited by the University of Kashmir, and he stayed there for 1 week. He saw all the glacial lakes and how, because of global warming, those lakes are getting filled up, overflowing, and they are bursting. So he is a witness to the kind of devastation that is manifest in the Himalayas. We have seen subsequently what happened in Himachal Pradesh and so many other places, particularly Sikkim, I was virtually glued to the TV and it's such a horrible scenario. And you know, these governments, they conveniently put it on క్లౌడ్ బర్స్ట్. ఓ పిట్ట కథ చెప్తారు ప్రభుత్వాలు ఎప్పుడు కూడా. మనమే కథలు చెప్తామంటే వాళ్ళు మనకన్నా ఎక్కువ చెప్తారు. And we Homo sapiens are we are the only species in the world which is capable of telling a story. But this particular quality is more in the governments rather than the citizens. Anyway, friends, the same is the situation when it comes to air pollution in the entire North India. ఇదేం ఓవర్ నైట్ వచ్చింది కాదు. అవును, ఎవరు చెప్పలేదు, మాకు సడన్గా వచ్చింది. Nobody can say that. For the last 40 years, people like us, so many people in Delhi, so many, unsung heroes in the field of environment, they have been cautioning, right from Sundarlal Bahuguna to Anil Agarwal, MC Mehta, so many, all the distinguished names, and the poorest of the poor in the villages, they have been commenting. And now, very conveniently, the Delhi administration and the central government, including the Supreme Court is misled. And they also think this air pollution is solely because of the burning of stubs. వ్యవసాయం చేస్తే తెలుస్తుంది అసలు ఆ స్టబ్స్ని ఎందుకు తగలబెడుతుంది. దిస్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్ సైన్స్ ఇన్ ఇట్. ఢిల్లీలో కూర్చొని అందరూ పాసింగ్ ఆన్ ద బక్. Come on, tomorrow, suppose if the stubs burning is stopped, do you think the sky over Delhi is clean, or the air they breathe is good enough? ఎందుకు ఫార్మర్స్ను బ్లేమ్ చేస్తున్నారంటే వాళ్ళు ఆర్గనైజ్డ్ గారు. ప్రాబ్లమ్స్ ఆర్ వెరీ రియల్ ఫ్రెండ్స్. బట్ ఇది కేవలం అనాలిసిసే కాక మనం ఏం చేయగలుగుతాం అంటే ఎందుకంటే CGR ఈజ్ ఏ వండర్ఫుల్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్ విత్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ ఎక్స్పర్టీస్. ఇక్కడ నా పేర్లే కాక కనపడని చాలామంది ఉన్నారు. వీ హ్యావ్ టు బిగిన్ టు థింక్ డిఫరెంట్లీ. హిమాలయాస్ మీద వీ షుడ్ టేక్ ద లీడ్ అండ్ ఆర్గనైజ్ అన్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్. ఇది ఒక్క ఇండియా, సపోజ్ ఇండియా is good enough and we take all the measures, that's not sufficient. Himalaya, you think of all the countries surrounding Himalayas, northern side China, right? అక్కడి నుంచి ఆఫ్ఘనిస్తాన్, పాకిస్తాన్, రష్యా కూడా కొంత టచ్ అవుతుంది. దెన్ we come to Bhutan, Nepal, including Bangladesh. It's a beneficiary, and Myanmar. In fact, the rivers that originate in the Himalayas, they go up to Thailand and Vietnam.